sa kabila ng pangaharas ng mga Chinese militia vessel at mga Chinese Coast Guard sa mga kasundaluhan ng Roremi at Philippine Coast Guard ay hindi isusuko ng gobyerno ang West Philippine Sea. Nasa tamang landas ang Administrasyong Marcos sa pare-pareho nitong paglulunsad ng mga opisyal na protesta laban sa mga paglusob at panggigipit ng China sa West Philippine Sea, habang pinatutunayan ng mga protesta sa mundo ang determinasyon ng bansa na ipagtanggol ang soberanya nito. Ito ang sinabi ni House Deputy Majority Leader Neftali Gonzales. Sabi pa niya, kailangang ipakita sa mundo na hindi binibitawan ang ating paghahabol, para hindi rin mawalan ng interes ang ibang bansa na sumusuporta sa atin kung tayo mismo ay hindi magpapakita ng interes. Aniya, hindi susuko ang Pilipinas sa pagprotesta sa walang pakundangan na paglabag ng China sa international na batas.
The Philippines, of course, understands that widening geopolitical polarities around the world and the sharpening strategic competition between the People's Republic of China and the United States of America have become a reality permeating the regional strategic environment. But we caution against overemphasizing this reality. Such undue emphasis tends to subsume the legitimate rights and interests of countries like the Philippines, Australia, and other ASEAN member states into the interests of the so-called major countries, as if we are mere pawns with no strategic agency. It also obscures our judgment. It distracts us from calling out aggressive, unilateral, illegal, and unlawful actions for what they are: attacks against the rule of international law and the principles of the Charter of the United Nations. Indeed, there are those who sometimes justify such provocations under the pretext of geopolitics and mischaracterize the remedies availed of by the aggrieved as mere tactics in this grand strategic game. If we are to successfully navigate the treacherous waters brought about by this recent geopolitical flux, we need to clarify and we need to have foresight. The future of this region will be shaped not by one or two, but by many actors, and they will each demand that their voices be heard individually and collectively, as indeed they should be. Thus, the Philippines begins any conversation regarding great power competition with a strong rejection of any subordination of our distinct national interest and denial of our sovereignty and strategic agency. Ladies and gentlemen, we acknowledge the undeniable importance of the People's Republic of China and the United States of America, to the security situation and the economic evolution of this region and of the world. We must deal with both of them constructively. Along with Australia, the Philippines is the oldest treaty ally of the United States in Asia. We forged this alliance by our own choice, and we continue to strengthen it by our own choice. Our alliance has been a pillar of regional stability for decades, and we all need for it to continue to be a force for good in the coming years. It is rooted in a long history, built upon shared values and strengthened by mutual respect as equal and sovereign partners. At the same time, centuries of friendship and kinship bind the Filipino and Chinese people. We pursue with the People's Republic of China comprehensive strategic cooperation founded on mutual respect and mutual benefit. Our independent foreign policy compels us to cooperate with them on matters where our interests align, to respectfully disagree on areas where our views differ, and to push back when our sworn principles, such as our sovereignty, our sovereign rights, and our jurisdiction in the West Philippine Sea, are questioned or ignored. In this specific context of the South China Sea, our interests are clear. They lie in ensuring that the universal and unified character of the 1982 United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS, and in the final and binding determinations of the South China Sea Arbitration Award of 2016 are firmly and consistently upheld. It is unfortunate that despite the clarity provided by international law, provocative, unilateral, and illegal actions continue to infringe upon our sovereignty, our sovereign rights, our jurisdictions. This pattern of aggression obstructs our path towards ASEAN's vision of the South China Sea as a sea of peace, stability, and of prosperity. As a country committed to the cause of peace and the peaceful settlement of disputes, the Philippines continues to tread the path of dialogue and diplomacy despite these serious difficulties. We will continue to engage China bilaterally and through ASEAN-led mechanisms to address our differences at sea. We are determined to make our bilateral mechanisms with China work, and we will leverage our bilateral mechanisms with other claimant states towards the peaceful management of disputes. Our adherence to the 2002 ASEAN-China Declaration on the Conduct of Parties in the South China Sea remains steadfast, and so is our commitment to working with ASEAN and China towards an effective and substantive code of conduct that finds its moorings in UNCLOS and respects the interests of all stakeholders, including Australia. And yet, these efforts are not pursued in a vacuum. A conducive environment where tensions are effectively managed is crucial to the success of the COC negotiations. We shall never surrender even a square inch of our territory and our maritime jurisdiction. In this regard, we are upgrading the capabilities of our Coast Guard, pursuing the modernization of our armed forces, and earlier this year, I approved the updated acquisition plan of the Armed Forces of the Philippines called Re-Horizon 3, in line with our comprehensive archipelagic defense concept. Our forces must be able to guarantee, to the fullest extent possible, Filipino nationals, Philippine corporations, and those authorized by the Philippine government, unimpeded and peaceful exploration and exploitation of all natural resources in areas where we have jurisdiction, including and especially our exclusive economic zone, in accordance with international law. Philippine agencies, forces, and institutions are working to strengthen our capabilities. We are on the front line of international efforts to preserve, defend, and uphold the rules-based international order, the same platform from which the post-war Asian economic miracles took off, and upon which the continued prosperity of countries like Australia relies. Ladies and gentlemen, we in the Indo-Pacific cannot ignore the existential impact of great power rivalries upon the survival of our peoples and our communities. Amidst the alarming reversal of the historic trend of decreasing nuclear stockpiles in the region, we must remember that the tragic humanitarian consequences of nuclear weapons use were borne by peoples of this region, the hibakusha of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and the victims of nuclear tests in the Pacific. It is time to bring Indo-Pacific issues to the fore of global conversations on nuclear disarmament. The People's Republic of China and the United States must engage in meaningful dialogue to maintain strategic stability and to limit any nuclear arms buildup. The Philippines and Australia, along with Japan, are at the forefront of efforts to reduce nuclear risks in the region. These nuclear risks demonstrate the need for great powers to manage their strategic competition in a responsible manner. We in the Indo-Pacific must ensure that great powers do not treat the world as an arena for their competition. The pursuit of the great powers' respective strategic goals must never come at the expense of the interests of smaller states, nor of regional and international peace.